Good afternoon and welcome back to the NWR Virtual Investor Conference Series 11. I'm your host, Banjo Blake, and in this session we have ReadCloud presenting. ReadCloud is a leading provider in Australia of e-reading software, delivering curriculum eBooks to schools and VET in schools courses, offering over 200,000 eBooks from the world's leading publishers. Today presenting is Lars Linderstrom. He is the current CEO of ReadCloud, co-founding their operations in April 2009. Lars joins me today in the NWR conference, and without further ado, I'd love to hand over to Lars when you're ready.
Thank you, Banjo. If everyone can see the presentation, I'll get started.
Yep, good to go when you are.
ReadCloud is a market leader in digital content delivery to schools in Australia. We have two main products. The first one being your traditional textbooks, your math, science, English, history textbooks delivered as ebooks inside of schools. And the second one is vocational education and training, which is courses delivered in year 10, 11, and 12 to students that then receive a qualification that is recognized nationally. And to newcomers to the story, I wanted to spend a bit of time explaining exactly what the ReadCloud software does. So this next slide gives you an overview of our software as a service platform. And in the vocational education and training, you need to do a number of things to receive your certificate at the end of the course journey. First of all, we have to approve the teachers. So we're the registered training organization who is responsible for the oversight of the standards, how that's applied to the delivery of that course. The students then have to enroll into our enrollment platform online, identifying themselves. They then get access to their course materials through eBooks using the ReadCloud eReading platform. They then go to another part of our platform, which is where they do their online assessments. The teachers then log into that platform and mark them either as competent or not competent. And if they've shown their competency in a skill, they will then be issued with a certificate. The other main product is, as I said, delivery of traditional textbooks. For that, we have a string of distribution agreements with the world's leading publishers, which is why we have an ebook store of over 200,000 ebooks. The ReadCloud technology encrypts those books so they can only be read inside of our platform and not shared with anyone other than the person who's purchased it. They then log into the ReadCloud app and they see their books, and we also integrate into the timetabling software so we can see which classes the students are in and what teachers are in those classrooms. And the idea behind that is that you can actually make some annotations inside of the ebook that can then be shared with your classroom, and you can have a discussion, and what we sort of call, it's an important part of collaboration inside of schools. Just as an update, we recently put out our quarterly update where we announced that we are now used by we have over 600 school customers and educational institution customers. We concluded the most successful onboarding season to date. There's a few new market opportunities that are still continuing to progress. And what we mean by that is other areas where the SaaS platform can be used. And we had the three RTOs that we acquired over the last two last year and one the year before. Just 21% of them use all of the three RTOs. And that number's up from 15% when we completed the acquisition of the last one in May last year. And we certainly expect that number to continue to rise as we now can offer schools a wider range of courses and qualifications. So we're already seeing a positive pipeline for the vet segment for 23. So this is sort of the selling season starting now into courses that will be delivered for calendar year 23. We're planning a national marketing launch of the ReadCloud Vet Group, which is the sort of combined entity of those three companies we've acquired into one in May 22. And end of the March quarter, we had a strong cash balance of $5.4 million, which positions the company well for growth. Amongst the other highlights in the quarter announcement, we had a record receipts from customers of 3.6 million. We had 1.4 million positive net cash from operations. And what we also saw is an increase in user numbers, 25% increase for the vet users and 23% increase for the full curriculum business. And we saw a stabilization of the reseller schools. They had a bit of a hiccup the prior year, but they're now starting to grow again, which is a good sign. We had unaudited consolidated revenue for the first half of 7.1 million, which is up 35% on the prior corresponding period, and which is actually just shy of what we did for the entire FY21 year in terms of revenue. This is an overview of the markets we currently operate in. They're large markets. We have 1.6 million students in 2,700 secondary schools in Australia. And a subset of them do vet in school courses. So there's 236,000 students every year doing a qualification. And that's a smaller part of the bigger, broader vet market where 4.2 million Australians every year take a course in something. And we operate only in a small part in the broader vet market. We have a few publishers that use the ReadCloud platform to protect their content and service their own clients in that space. But it's definitely an area that we're looking at to grow in further. And the vet and schools side of things, we believe it's a $50 to $75 million industry. We are the biggest private operator by courses, and we expect to grow strongly in that space. And this is a slide that talks about some trends that we're seeing in the vet and schools market. There are essentially 4 different organizations that deliver this type of service, one being schools that are RTOs themselves, and the other being private operators. And there's a bit of TAFE, and there's a bit of unis and some non-for-profits delivering this type of service. And the biggest trend you've seen in the last 5 years is that the private operators are growing and have grown 30% over those 5 years. Schools that are RTOs themselves are down 12%, TAFEs are down 20%, and unis and others are down 21%. And when it comes to schools that are RTOs themselves, they're still target customers for us because we can still sell them the course material and our assessments and the entire ReadCloud platform. And even though they maintain the RTO status, and we have in fact already sold some of our content into schools that are RTOs themselves. So we're seeing a continued growth in vet and schools. As I said, we're the largest operator by courses offered, and that's an interesting aspect of our business because there's also a trend where schools prefer to deal with fewer RTOs because there is a fair bit of compliance and paperwork and setting up that needs to be done, and they prefer to do it on one platform as opposed to dealing with a whole range of RTOs. So that's a trend that's working in our favor. As I said, we've acquired 3 businesses, we put them together, and now that we are running as pretty much one company from an operational point of view, we've certainly seen some efficiencies extracted and some synergies. And there's a real strong sense of excitement in the company in anticipation of this launch of the ReadCloud Vet Group that's planned for May 22. And the cross-selling of each of the RTO services to the customers of the other RTOs is a very important aspect for us. As I said, that's already moved from 15% to 21%, and we expect that to continue to grow. As to the direct curriculum business, we continue to see organic growth in the existing schools, which means that schools often dip their toes in this, and then next year another year level is added onto the platform, or a faculty goes from physical to digital books. And so we continue to push in that area. It has been a challenge with COVID because we're used to going to the schools and selling to them in person, but we implemented an outbound sales strategy last year, just phone sales, which worked really well under the circumstances, and we can actually now close schools and win them just via Zoom, which is encouraging. We continue to partner with resellers, so the people that are sort of interfacing with the school, who will offer them both eBooks and some physical books and stationery. We've signed up 2 big resellers late last year, who have very large school customer bases. So it provides a strong pathway to market for FY22 and beyond. And in terms of M&A, certainly during COVID, we've seen an increase in number of opportunities coming across our desk. And we're certainly running our rulers over quite a few opportunities that could help us either grow faster in what we're doing today, or can take us into areas where the software platform can be used in that area. So that concludes the presentation.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for your time there, Lars. Just got a few questions trickling through now. Firstly, can we get started with how has cross-selling into the VET in school segment gone this year to date?
Look, it's gone well in terms of the 15% going to 21, but you have to keep in mind that we only completed the Rip and Lee acquisition in July June, July. And so a lot of the operational focus in the last half year has been on merging the three companies and really setting them up for the ReadCloud Vet Group launch in May. So all the selling and the cross-selling will occur this calendar year for 2023 delivery.
Thanks for that insight. And while we're on the topic of M&As, in terms of M&A, are there plentiful VET course material providers that you can acquire at low multiples?
There are some, but they're of less interest to us now that we have such a big scope ourselves. So we, in that vet and school space, I believe we will continue just to compete head on with what is essentially a large group of smaller operators who don't have the scale and the software platform that we do.
Yep, and thanks for that answer. Reseller customers dropped significantly in FY21, but numbers are back up in FY22. What has actually caused that turnaround?
Our biggest reseller went through a merger. So Office Max and Stables were merged by an American private equity group, and they lost a fair bit of their people and their business 2 years ago. And they had quite a few unhappy customers, and they decided to pull back to delivering only to promise to deliver what they were absolutely certain they could do. So they took a hit in 2020, and the customers they held for 21, they're now back in business doing a good job, and which is why they've stabilized, and they've actually shown a slight growth in this onboarding season compared to last year. So that's a positive sign.
Can you comment on any international expansion plans as flagged in prior quarters?
Oh, look, we're not really going to say we are absolutely going international, because then, not until there's an opportunity, we've actually closed a deal. But we have participated in some virtual expos overseas that the Victorian government has put in place and organized. And there's been some interest from companies overseas, in particular around how to protect your ebook content and the delivery of that. So there are some conversations going on, but nothing specific. And if something specific happens, of course, we'll announce it.
Awesome. Thanks for giving some insight into ReadCloud and its potential and opportunities going into the future. Appreciate your time, Lars, and that concludes this session.
Thanks, Benja. Thanks for organizing.
Thank you. Cheers.